Hola, bienvenidos a Lightspeed Spanish. Bueno. Today I'm going to share with you a secret about the past tense in Spanish and about the difference between what you're communicating when you use the preterite and what you're communicating when you use the imperfect. Hablamos de todo en la segunda parte.
Ojalá tuviera yo un español más decente.
So we're going to look at two sentences in Spanish and compare them. They're virtually identical, except that we've got a different tense in each sentence. The first sentence is, mientras Cintia, mi mujer, preparaba la comida, yo mandaba unos emails. Okay? So while Cynthia was preparing lunch, I was sending some emails. That's a sentence, okay? It's fairly clear. We understand what it's saying. However, in Spanish, we can say this. Mientras Cintia preparaba la comida, yo mandé unos emails. The difference. This time I said, I sent some emails. Yo mandé unos emails. In the other sentence, I said, yo mandaba unos emails. I was sending some emails. What's the difference? Now, in English, look, we've got a mess going on. We've got false preterite. We don't know what we're talking about sometimes. Spanish, I've noticed, is much more mechanical and scientific. Now, you might be saying, how dare you, Gordon, besmirch English and say that we don't know what we're talking about? Well, I know because I've spent 20 years teaching Spanish, and it's very difficult in English sometimes to see what it is that you've got to say in Spanish, because Spanish is so exacting. And English is a bit more, English has got the fusion of German, it's got Latin, it's got French, we've got loads of influences. And so the rules aren't as clear as they are in Spanish, which is primarily Latin. Okay? That's the only reason. It's not a criticism of English. I love English. I am English. However, Spanish has better rules. Así que vamos a volver a hablar de mis frases. So, what is the difference in Spanish? What's the difference in meaning when we say, mientras Cintia preparaba la comida, yo mandaba unos emails? Or yo mandé? Well, to a Spanish ear, and again, this is just a general idea, when we use to imperfect, Cintia preparaba, yo mandaba, what a listener imagines in terms of a timeline is that both of those actions more or less lasted the same amount of time. Cynthia was preparing lunch and I was sending emails, and then we ate lunch together. So two actions probably lasting around about the same time. When we say Cintia preparaba la comida y yo mandé unos emails, to the listener, what I'm saying is the sending of my emails was not as long. It was a shorter period of time compared to preparing lunch. Does that make sense? The reason is that the imperfect is setting the background and the preterite cuts through with an action. And that's why when we use the preterite, we tend to shorten, unless we specify the length of time, we tend to shorten the action in comparison to other actions. That's why if you say, yo fui profesor, for a Spanish listener, it's kind of not for very long. Not for very long. The same as yo mandé unos emails, but not for very long. Not as long as preparaba la comida. Okay? So that's a concept that you can keep in mind when you're choosing to talk about what happened. Are these two things that happen more or less at the same time? Too imperfect. But is this one thing that happened quickly during another thing that was happening longer? Preterite. ¿Vale? Chicos, hay que practicarlo y hay que seguir estudiando tu español, y por favor, danos un like, y si no te has suscrito, pues hazlo. Compartimos un montón de vídeos muy útiles para tu español. Hasta luego, chicos. Adiós.